Now, Milner Grapes is a fourth generation family table grape farm, of course, based in Irymple, the epicentre of Sunraysia, besides Cardross. It is known for producing high quality crimson seedless grapes, which the farm also exports extensively to Asian markets, including China and Japan. Today we're going to talk to Greg Milner about the recent challenges such as the floods, the importance of water to his operations, and his exports of high quality fruit to the particular markets of Asia. We also talk about his farm's outlook and what Australia needs to do to ensure farms like Greg's prospers and survives the global headwinds. First of all, Greg, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good to be here, Mike.
Now, first of all, which is the epicentre of Sunraysia? Cardross? Sunny Cliffs?
You're a funny man.
Yeah, my dad never.
Cardross is sort of out the outskirts. It's a good place.
When I was there, it was Pierce's family store or something. You had a servo and a school. Never had
it's still there. Yeah, it's still there. I think it's still got petrol, actually.
Really? Shh. Tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Hey, tell us about your farm. Tell us about your block or blocks, and some of the challenges that you're looking at the moment. Because not only have you had a massive amount of rain, we have the fuel crisis at the moment, and heaven forbid if you can't get the old Massey Ferguson to crank up, you need a bit of filter. Tell us what's happening with you.
Oh, it's at the minute it's not very exciting. There's a lot of headwind, a lot of pressure, with a whole lot of different issues. Fuel is probably one of the smaller ones. One of the major ones is probably government interference with the MDBA, the water issues. It's making farming very, very difficult.
So what do we do about it? How do we make it better? I know that you have some good representation within Sunraysia, but if you look right across the board, those on the land are doing it tough, and it would seem that government really doesn't give a rat's about those on the land. What's your
sense? I think there are too many idiots in charge of decisions.
Mm-hmm.
The people that make decisions are listening to people that come out of university and have no real concept of what actually farming is. The MDBA was supposed to be formed to protect the river. The river, I think, is probably the worst condition it's ever been. It was a lot better before the MDBA took control. We have issues of blue-green algae. Once upon a time when I was a kid, you'd go fishing and you would take a cup out of the boat, you would dip it into the water and you get yourself a drink. I think you'd end up in hospital now if you did that. The water quality is certainly degraded to such an extent that not many people would drink it straight out of the river. So sorry.
The river itself, why is it in such a poor state? I mean, I do recall, I left Sunraysia because Dad would go for a barbecue or a picnic down on the riverbanks, and I couldn't stand it. I've never seen flies so big and so many, so I had to leave. But the river was, though, it was this beautiful addition to the area. Why is it in such a bad state? Because if it's in a bad state, it doesn't augur well for the future, does it?
Well, there's a lot of environmental practices that, in my mind, are suspect. Irrigating the floodplains and saturating the floodplains and then depleting the water that's in the floodplains of oxygen because of all the leaf matters there. Then they drain that water, in some cases, back into the river system and doesn't have a good effect on the river. So there's a lot of management issues that are at fault with what the government's doing. I think people come out of universities with these high ideals and think they can fix all these problems, and they just seem to be making it worse. and um, they don't take into account the shortage and the amount of water they're taking out of the system for irrigation and food production, which puts more pressure on farmers. And a lot of farmers are actually going to the wall within irrigation because of that very reason, that just water's too expensive. Like at the minute, I think it's $500 a megalitre to buy water, and the return on the commodities are just not there.
It's a shocker, isn't it?
It's terrible.
How do we fix it? Because, yeah, I can recall, I have a very good memory. I can recall 250 years ago, that's when I was a kid and you were a kid too. But I can recall then there was always state, federal, either New South Wales or Victorian governments putting their beak into areas they knew nothing about. It seems to have become worse. In those days, all we did was whinge about it and nothing else could happen because you couldn't do much. How do we make change? How do we get the governments to understand that once they kill the river, once they kill the farming communities, then it is not a good outlook for Australia?
Well, it's food production. You can see the current crisis we're in now with fuel, and when we can't get commodities into Australia because we're an island, it becomes very devastating. And if they put more pressure on food production, the issue is that in farming, most of the family farms, that's where all the expertise is in farming. And when they leave the business, all that expertise goes with them. And unfortunately, like I'm 73, and my son Tim, who you saw on some of the promos, he's wanting to take over and his young family. And I feel for them because what I'm leaving my son is not a rosy picture. It saddens me that it's got to this stage. It really does. I just can't see a real answer because you got people like, Simon Crean in government, not Simon Crean, the current energy minister in government, and some of the lies that they tell, and this is what they tell about the condition of the Murray River. They just tell lies and expect people to believe it. And we've been to the High Court actually in probably about 2009 and 10 to try and get a solution for this. But they just threw us out of court. We raised over $500,000 to go to court, and they just run us out of money because they're bigger and better. They just do what they want. It seems now that all the private investment companies and superannuation companies are the ones that are buying up all this land. And as you just said in your promo, that one that just went broke, owing $50 million. Well, that's what's happening, that these companies just come in, use investors' money, put pressure on the local farmer, the small guys, and because it's someone else's money, we'll just move on to the next project. And that's just what we're dealing with.
Yeah, there's the Murray-Darling Basin review on at the moment. But I have to tell you that the government loves reviews, don't they? And they go on for such a long time, and the end result is not much better than it was before, if not even worse than before. You mentioned there's others backs to the wall. They could go under, and then they're bought out by the larger ones. When I was there, I was surrounded by all these blockies, the Italians and the Greeks and stuff, and they had 20-acre blocks, and everyone survived. It was a great community. As these small blocks disappear, because you just can't make a living, and the big ones get bigger, it doesn't do much. It's not much chop, is it, for the local community either, because you got either the same people there who are out of work, haven't got much in their life because they've been just decimated, or they leave town. How is Sunraysia? I was there last year for my dad's funeral, and it's not looking. It looks all right, but it seemed to have, it lacks a spark. That's probably what it is. And it hasn't got that, in the days you and I used to do lappies around Langtree Avenue. but it was a great community because it was tight. It was, everyone had each other's back generally. Didn't seem to have it this time. It seemed like it was everyone had their little island, which was their home, had their block, but wasn't that great community spirit. Do you find that too now? Do you think that's sort of gone?
I think Mildura is still a great town, but it's certainly got a lot bigger. And one of the main employers, I would suspect, in this town is NDIS. The exploitation of NDIS in this community. I mean, that the cars are running around all over the place, taking people out for coffees and just take them for walks and so on. And then you have, which if you want to get into another aspect of it, the health situation up here. If you were sick, really, you wouldn't take your drover's dog to the Mildura Base Hospital because it's in such a poor state. And we live in the flight path of the airport, and some days you can get up to 20 air ambulances flying over, taking people out of Mildura to Melbourne hospitals, Bendigo hospitals, or to Geelong hospitals. So the health system is degraded as well, and the government state government have just taken so much money out of the health system, and their answer to it is, oh, well, anyone's real sick, you have a heart attack or you have a stroke or you have an accident. Like a friend of mine just broke their hip, and because they couldn't deal with a broken hip in Mildura, they flew her to Bendigo. So now she's disjointed from her family, got to go to Bendigo and do rehab in Bendigo. And the same thing in relation to water. You're dealing with these people that really they just don't care. They really don't care. It's out of the cities and out of sight, out of mind, and that's how we feel in the country, I believe, and it's showing up in the amount of people farmers that will probably have to sell. I was talking to a real estate agent a couple of weeks ago about selling property, and he said, "Greg, you waste your time." I said, "I've got 60 on the books now. Just no one's interested." So it's pretty bad.
Okay, so the other way though is to somehow get through it. Which, I mean, I've got to tell you, I know Sunraysia very well, and that seems to be part of the makeup of it. You just get through it because you have no choice. But what I mean, you in that video showed us that you look after the Chinese market, you look after other Asian markets. How do we get through? How do you increase productivity? How do you make your life a little better than you're having now? Or have the markets been so saturated? We had a guy on before last week from Loxton, from I forgot the name of the winery, Oxford Landing, and he said there are just too many out there doing the same thing. Is that the same thing with you in Sunraysia? Are there just too many doing it? The big ones are doing it bigger and not better, but bigger, and there's a glut of your product, and therefore your prices come down?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say that. I think we're protected a little bit because there's so much labour involved. Because you can't mechanicalise table grapes, so I think that protects in a certain aspect of it. If you can grow quality, and if you can produce quality, you'll always sell your fruit. And it's just that in the last a little bit, it's been very, very challenging to grow the quality because of weather conditions and because of lack of water, the excessive heat, like record temperatures. Then this year we had, in some places, in a week there was 8 inches of rain, which is Mildura's annual rainfall. Just in a week, and that has an impact on the quality of fruit. So if you can maintain your quality, I think that there's a really good future in table grapes, but it's just getting increasingly harder with all the headwinds and a lot of them come from bureaucracy.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's just if only we could do away with government. Yeah, maybe we could encourage them to go on a cruise it runs out of diesel, and it just sails aimlessly around the Pacific Ocean. That might help. Tell me the because I've got to ask you this: how's the fuel crisis looking for Sunraysia?
We're on rations, water, fuel, because we need significant amounts of fuel, but we're rationed because of the panic buying. There are service stations here that are running out of grades of fuel, like they might run out of 95 or they might run out of 91, or they might run out of some diesel. But I think we're managing. I think we're coping. I don't suspect that the panic is as bad here as what it is in probably in the capital cities.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. Just in brief, how do you see the future of Sunraysia? Because I've gone way over time and I've been told off, but I can't help talking. If I meet someone from my country, I can't shut up, which is terrible.
It is a beautiful place up here. Let me tell you. I'm just talking from a business perspective, but it is a beautiful place. And when you open up about your barbecue, I suspect you're cooking the wrong meat with all those flies.
Oh no, there was snagging.
It must have been the cooking.
No, Dad cooked it. I mean, he's as cheap as get out.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, those coal sausages in white bread with sauce and normally on a barbecue, you get little black things on it sometimes with the barbecue.
Oh,
were flies. These were flies.
Yeah, I know. And that's all right.
I can't stand them. It was terrible. That's why
Lake Coleraine is even worse.
Oh man! Now we're talking, but I still think the Murray River, gorgeous as it is, the riverbank when you have a barbecue, it's my Lord, they're living, breathing.
Nice,
Greg,
but it is nice. It is nice.
Look, we have to go. Do you do any socials, or I know because I can see you'll be on your X and you'll be on Facebook chirping away. Do you have any? If somebody wanted to contact you to have a bit of a chinwag about what's happening in Sunraysia with the industry, is there a way they can contact you?
No, I don't think so. They could probably go through you, I suppose. But
you're not. All right, good on you.
No, I used to be heavily involved in the industry, and I used to be chair of the associations and so forth. But I've decided, over the last few years, that let the younger generation take over. But I don't envy what they've got to do because we haven't left them in a very good situation. It's just so hard now.
It is terrible.
You just got to, you really got to fight for everything you're getting, and most of the time you spend fighting. And we all really want to do is just grow the product, but there's so much political headwinds, and it just makes it difficult.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm just getting screamed at because I talk too much. See, it's your fault.
Okay, not a problem. Not a problem. Good to talk to you.
Thank you very much. Greg Milner there from Milner Farms. This is the Talking Telegraph, the Country Telegraph.